All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Competence Podcast. We're talking college football, and it is a crazy week. We are in the Army Navy week, one of the best games of the year, one fresh in minds, favorite weeks to talk about. But the world of college football is turned into a soap opera. People getting fired, people opting out of bowl games, all sorts of drama that we must talk about. I'm joined by my co-host, the man who lives a very drama-free life, as far as I know. Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
Well, compared to a lot of people right now across the country involved in college football, one way or another, my life is very, very calming and passive. But wow, at the so we are recording this, folks. Just full transparency, about 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on December 10th. And if you want to track back and fold the calendar, there was a lot of things that sort of happening in a row about what maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Jerome Moore, Michigan, fired from his job with cause for having inappropriate relations with a staffer. We all
Allegedly,
kind of
allegedly,
allegedly,
inappropriate relations with
allegedly,
staffer.
you think, all right, you take your jokes, maybe this is a great way for Michigan to use it as an excuse to get out of his 2-year thing, sort of completely disconnect them from the Jim Harbaugh era with the scandal of Connor Scallings. And obviously, I think you had Mark Weiss or whatever, the guy before that with his laptop. A lot of quote unquote Michigan men, and I use that term very loosely and tongue in cheek. But then things went from comedic and off the wall to very serious and disturbing, scary thoughts and prayers across the board. Where Jerome Moore apparently allegedly has a fight with his wife, takes a knife, and then goes on the run to this girl's house. The wife tracks him, helps the police find him. He gets detained. He's arrested and protected in custody. It's like, what
Drama.
the heck just happened?
Yeah.
And there's rumors now that all these different things that are coming out of what happened and people knew. And there's even rumors that were like back in September that there was something happening, but it was kind of quiet. And somebody brought up a great point that I think we also need to share is if there were rumors about this kind of relationship 3, 4 months ago, if Michigan made it the playoff or went 10-2 or 1, does he get fired because of it? But you have a less than positive standard season. You had a 3-4 loss year last year. It fits the cards of Michigan getting rid of him with cause and not having to pay the buyout, give a complete reset to the program, disconnect from all the scandal they had before. But nobody in their right mind expected the additional events after the fact to really transpire and make it much more serious than just a athletic department getting completely disconnected from a scandal-ridden football coaching staff, the previous 2 head coaches. So wild thing to unpack. We're never going to know the full story until it actually probably hits a courtroom. But when you think, we got normal stuff going on, coaching, carousels, and then this just pops up. And we'll talk about the coaching carousel aspect later, but this is wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah. Something was always off a little bit with me with Jerome Moore, and I never could kind of put my finger on it. He substitute it kind of stems all the way back when he filled in for Harbaugh for those 3 games that Harbaugh was suspended to end it. And what was it? Was it the game where they win it at Penn State and he's
I mean,
doing the
winning the ball
post
like
game and
25 straight times.
he's bawling his eyes out and it's like, that's my coach. That's my coach. I'm like, okay, like I get it, you're passionate about this, but that's a thing a player does and not the interim head coach who is filling in for the guy. Like, I get it, you're passionate, but you could have handled that whole situation better. And that was always like, I wasn't ever thinking he's weird because of the breakdown that he's having. I just felt like that doesn't fit who he is. Like, that doesn't fit the role that he's in. So that always kind of gave me like this weird, okay, like, is this guy really a serious head coach? And then he gets the job after Harbaugh, kind of tucks his tail between his legs and runs away from any sanctions and heads to NFL because he knew something was coming. Basically, getting Michigan no sanctions for the Stallions thing because he went to the NFL and took all the coaches with him. And then all these other things that kind of happen with Moore as they talk about, and sometimes they say like the truth is stranger than fiction. And if 50% of what is being floated out there, and all of this is allegedly here, folks. Like, none of this is confirmed. None of this is for sure. All we know that is confirmed is that he's been fired for cause from the University of Michigan, and he is in police custody while we're recording this. If half of the truth is true, then it is very, very much stranger than fiction on this one. I don't know if he'll ever resurface and see another coaching job. My real big question, though, Fresh, is how far does this put the University of Michigan back in their football program? They just brought in a top 10 recruiting class. It's going to open up the portal for not only the kids that are on the roster, but the weird rule that's going to happen. And again, I think this is right, but doesn't it also, because they fired their head coach,
Boyd, yep.
it voids the contract, and those kids can get out of those contracts immediately if they want to.
Yeah, and the signing day, they haven't. The early signing period's over, but they have the regular normal February signing day that these kids will then be eligible to jump back in. So there'll be recruiting classes that aren't full. They might hold off on transfer portal because you can still recruit these kids when when the time period that opens back up for the wrapping up the entire cycle. So there's just players who freshmen and transfers that are going to now have a new places to go. It's going to create all kind of chaos. And the other thing I want to add in with the whole Sharon Moore thing is that he actually served 2 suspensions as a coach, as the offensive coordinator for Michigan when he was there during the whole Stallions investigation himself. He was kind of left as like, all right, the rest of the coaching staff is gone. You get to remain, become the head coach, kind of a symbolism thing, take the burden. We'll cover you financially. All he had to do, and that's the craziest thing. All he had to do was just keep his nose clean and just coach the football team for 3. I think they're going to get rid of him after 3 years anyway, but just go through 3 years. You're going to take some lumps, take the heat for, the sanctions that were coming. You're going to get a great buyout. You're going to get paid, and you can go coach somewhere else and just, sort of reset or go back work for Jim Harbaugh. He completely destroyed everything that he lined up. Not only did, well, again, back to being allegedly, but destroyed everything that was laid out for him by whatever urges he might have. It's just wild. But yes, the portal's now back open. All the freshman incoming kids, they are now get to reset, I believe is the way sort of sets out. So all those commits, all those signees last week, literally a week ago today. So the signing day was, take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week, 2, 3, 4, are now basically wide open, and they can put themselves back in open recruitment and then sign in February on the final signing day. So just adds layers of chaos. And, to transition into the coaching carousel, who gets the job now in Michigan? I know we have
That's a great question.
We have Piff, who is under Jim Harbaugh for a while and went to Charlotte, the guy who has the no sleeves and wears the ratty t-shirt and is a super, like I said, multi-millionaire, but he's not a serious football coach. He wasn't even good at Charlotte. He's not coaching Michigan. So who in the cycle now? Is it going to take a shot at Brian Kelly? There's jokes that, Lane Kiffin's already up there in Ann Arbor now. An interesting name, though, because there's Kalen DeBoer's name is floated around the Alabama job. Do they just wait? And if Alabama loses to Oklahoma in the playoff in a week, do they just hire Kalen DeBoer and get him back to the Big Ten? Brian Daboll, who was coach of the Giants, staff with the Buffalo Bills. He was on staff for Nick Saban in Alabama, has professional experience, developed a quarterback. Because one thing that I think Michigan also really needs to reflect on is developing a modern offense. Because even under Jim Harbaugh, that offense was very 1985-ish. If you can recruit massive offensive linemen and run, 50 times a day, that's great. But the modern game, as we saw, needs improvement. And Bryce Underwood has no receivers to throw to. He's not even the greatest quarterback in the world. He showed the lumps. But can they get a head coach in there maybe to work with them to tap into the potential they saw? Just a lot to unpack. A lot to unpack.
Yeah, I don't know who is going to pick up this ball and run with it here, Fresh. I know we talked about, as weird as it's going to sound like, Brian Kelly to me may be the best person for this job. Like, Brian Kelly there's questions about how good of a football coach he is, and I think those are valid, but he definitely is more of a northern style football coach than a southern style football coach. And the guy, outside of this past year, wins football games. He does win football games. He wins in a weird way. I think it's more in line with the principles of the Wolverines instead of the principles of LSU. I could see him being a smart pick just to kind of get them through until the next coach comes along. And I say that when I say that kind of northern coach and southern coach type of thing, tongue in cheek on that one, basically saying like the whole thing of, I think the game's passed him by. I think
Mhm.
you go up there and be like the guy that the alumni of Michigan would want to. Another
Kind of
name,
like
though, that I
Central
like would be
Michigan,
Jed Fish.
Cincinnati, Notre Dame. He's coaching that realm, that part of excuse me, that part of the country. So, it works. Jed Fish is interesting. Does he want to give up Washington for? I mean, there's no lack of resources at Michigan. We already know there's no lack of deep pockets in the alumni base who are going to throw NIL money left and right. It's a great job. It's just you're going to need to have a coach to elevate the program. And kind of looking back at Michigan, we kind of joke like the 2020 to 2025 Michigan football team 30 for 30 is going to be nuts because
It is.
you go through Jim Harbaugh and his nonsense of giving his salary back, and trying to. He was already trashed. Before that, he was really struggling to the job. Appears on the outside to make a noble effort by giving money to the staffers at Michigan during COVID, and then goes through the season. They're getting the crap kicked out of them left and right every single week. And then the shady COVID cancellation of the Ohio State Michigan game at the end of the year. And then somehow Connor Stallions comes into the roster, and the 2021 team is leaps and bounds, worlds better just overnight. Where we are now, I think they need a guy with a clean record who knows who can coach, can modernize the team, can modernize the program, but also take advantage of the NIL opportunities. But I think the clean program element needs to come into play because the past 5 years have been laden with lack of Michigan men, or you know what, maybe that Michigan men are just shady. I don't know. It is a
Let me
weird
throw
state.
one more
There's a lot of
name your
problems with it.
way. Let me throw one more name your way. I think this would be a great hire. I just don't know if the Wolverines could get like me and you would both say again. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Fresh, but I know I would say if Michigan hired this guy, I would be very intrigued. I think it would be an interesting prospect. I just don't think he's sexy enough of a name. And it's Brett Brennan from Arizona.
Well, I mean, Brad
Think
did a
about what
got
he's
what
done from
he
Fish.
did. Well, he did a lot of great work at San Jose State. And year one, he recovered. This year two, he's got the same. Arizona playing well. He'd be an interesting hire. I don't think Kenny Dillingham's leaving Arizona State. He's an alum, and there's something like I have a connection of if you're an alum at a school and then you coach there, like there's a deeper connection. The Jed Fish thing is interesting because I know Michigan could offer more than Washington could, and he would get more resources. He'd be more of a focal point. It's just tough. You kind of look at what maybe I'm not going to compare the issues that the end of the Joe Pa era was very sad and tragic, and obviously there's a lot of bad things that happened there, but we're not directly related to him. But you needed a coach to come in like Bill O'Brien
And he was
as
perfect guy for that.
someone to reset the entire program. Not saying Michigan's gone through that same exact turmoil, but you look at the past, the Stallions thing, the Matt Weiss thing, Jim Harbaugh, the entire coaching staff leaving now, this year more. That's a lot of black eyes. A lot of shady stuff happened. A lot of bad things have, occurred to win a national championship, and that's even a tainted national championship in its own right. You need someone to come in who's just going to reset.
Hmm.
And maybe if it is like, hey, I know it's a 2 to 3 year reset, but it's a 2 to 3 year reset, and you give them some slack. But you've got to go the exact opposite, and sort of get yourself back in. I know we were throwing around, fun names of like Brady Hoke and Rich
Rick Trott.
Rod and Urban Meyer, like anybody you could think. We're throwing names out there randomly just to be funny about it. But to me, right off the bat, it doesn't. There's no one that really pops that could really be a home run hire outside of some NFL castoff. Now there are rumors of Marcus Freeman looking to leave Notre Dame and go to coach the New York Giants. Would Marcus Freeman leave to go to Michigan?
No, I don't think he would.
He's an Ohio State guy. That would take a lot.
It would.
But he would get more resources. And there's one thing that he's talked about. The academic standards at Notre Dame makes it obviously tougher. If you went to Michigan, you may be in a little better spot. Even though he's an Ohio State guy, that would be interesting.
What about Dave Aranda?
Well, he's in the last year of struggling at Baylor, even though he
Right,
is the longest tenured coach at Baylor.
but
Um,
we do think
the longest tenured coach at Big 12.
we do think he's a decent coach, but he doesn't really have a ton to work with at Baylor.
Well, I mean, if you're going to do that, then how about Lance Leipold?
Yeah, like I like
I
Leipold a
mean,
lot.
Leipold
Ooh.
started off
All
at
right, never mind
Wisconsin,
Aranda. Let's
Wisconsin,
talk Leipold.
Wisconsin Whitewater. Started off
Yeah.
at Wisconsin Whitewater, got to some national championships at D3 level. Then went to Buffalo, then
Oh, I
has
like that name a lot.
rebuilt Kansas. I mean, they had a couple great years there. They've been very, they've been better than normal. They got a brand new stadium, but has he maxed out? If you go there from Michigan to Michigan, you're back in the, more of a traditional Midwest, and you have a boatload of financial resources that will take you from good to great. So, and he's a clean guy. So Lance Leipold from Kansas,
I like that one a
Jayhawk
lot more.
fans. I mean,
Sorry, Jayhawk fans.
if I was the Michigan AD right now, I'd be back channel to the agent, like, look, what are you actually going to win at Kansas? You come to Michigan, you've won national championship at the D3 level. Yes, it's different, but you coached in the big time. Can you come take us to the next level and make us much more consistent? But, we'll see. It's
I
I
like
mean,
that. I like
twist and
that
turn.
that's a good one there, Fresh. All right, Fresh. Let's talk one more coaching search thing here. Penn State, I think they said 54 days without a coach. Lane Kiffin goes to LSU. We can talk about that one, but I think that's kind of been beat to death. But I think it's better for us to talk about Matt Campbell to Penn State. Now, in my eyes, my first reaction was, wow, Matt Campbell really left Penn State, because I kind of got the feeling Matt Campbell with Iowa State was kind of like Kirk Ferentz with Iowa. I kind of just got this impression that Matt Campbell was going to be the Iowa State coach. Like, he was the guy that was going to be there for 25 years. And Iowa State maybe never makes the playoff, but they're always a formidable team. They always played hard. They had some really great teams, and then they'll take a year or two back, and then they'll build back up, and they'll have another great team. I always kind of thought Matt Campbell would never leave Iowa State. I think it scares me a little bit. Now, Penn State kind of shot themselves in the foot with the recruiting class and only signed 4 recruits. Matt's going to have to do a ton of work in the portal here when it opens up. But let's go. What were your thoughts on the hire, man? Like, that's probably the best they could have done.
Matt Campbell's a great developer of talent because he's not getting top 25, top 30 recruiting classes at Iowa State. He
Hold on,
hasn't.
I'll look up what his best recruiting class is.
So yeah, look at what we're talking. But off the top of your head, you're like, he's getting either JUCO transfers, he's getting 3-star players, maybe a couple fours here and there, but the majority are 3 stars and 2 stars and develops them. Gets the full potential, finds the right guys. The grinders. They're well coached, they are disciplined, and they play hard for each other. Last year being the greatest year in Iowa State football history, they still have not won a conference title, but he's gotten them to play for a couple of conference championships in the Big 12. So he's taken Iowa State to the farthest I think it can without getting over the hump and winning a title. It's very commendable. He obviously had success at Toledo, and I believe he is a Mount Union guy, even deep down, and he took in that route that's free. So winning is in his blood. But you kind of look at Toledo, Mount Union, Big Ten country, those both being Ohio. Even though Iowa's there, Iowa State not being the Big Ten-esque, I think he wanted to get in that, like, that's his dream. Now at Penn State, he's going to have resources. It's football first at Penn State compared to Iowa. Iowa State's more of a 50-50 because their men's basketball team is really good. And obviously, wrestling's a big deal. But Penn State football, you're going to have some more resources. You're going to have just better recruiting by brand alone. And now we're going to see what kind of, can he get that extra coaching to make the good players great, not get average players to good. Now, can you go from good to great and elevate that talent? The transfer portal, he's going to obviously he's not going to get as many freshman recruits, but you're going to hit the portal very hard, build yourself a formidable team, and then, set a redisciplined standard. You know what? As we all saw, James Franklin won 10 games a lot. That very rarely coaches that are in anywhere, already kind of leader is in a spot for 10 plus years, is the message continue to get received. So I think it's probably a good fit for maybe Matt Campbell to leave if you've been at Iowa State for a while. James Franklin getting fired after being there for so long, you kind of like the message gets stale. They had the expectation, they failed to deliver. They think they were just going to walk in and get it. Now you get some new blood in there. How do you, reinstill the confidence in that Penn State Nittany Lion football team to go out there? They finished, bowl eligible, going to the Pinstripe Bowl to play Clemson, which is hilarious. 2 top 5 preseason teams are playing in New York at Yankee Stadium. But you have the talent there, but now you have to reset them, build their confidence back up, and get them to achieve greatness. I think Matt Campbell was, even though he was like the 25th, I'm joking using the number, but he was not anywhere near the top of the line of what they were targeting for. But in the end, you might have actually gotten a much better football coach by being down your list and not getting the flashy name and getting a consistent developer of talent.
Yeah, I went back and look. I did 5 years worth here. His best recruiting class is 39th in 2022, 55 the last 2 years, 42 and 23, and 59 and 21. So the dude's not, he's a great developer of coaches. He's a great developing coach, develops his players very, very well. Well, I'll tell you, Fresh is wonder 5 years from now with Penn State where Matt Campbell is going to be. I legitimately think if he is given that long of a leash, because if I'm the Penn State president and athletic director, I got to understand, I got 4 kids that came in on the recruiting class. There was this whole article the other day of all of these teams that are FCS that had better recruiting classes than Penn State did. I'm telling you, if they give him time, let him build up, get the same resources that were given to James Franklin for all those 10 years, I do think he has the capability and the coaching know-how to get Penn State to a legit elite offense, legit Big Ten talent and a national title contender if given time. Now, I understand there's so many more factors that have to come into play. Like, you got to land on the right kids, you got to develop the right kids, and you have to have an AD that is willing to give you time to get all these things in place, because it's not going to be easy. He is going to have to integrate and align everything vertically within that program. And he's going to need a lot of time to do it. I'm worried that he may get the Billy Napier treatment. And I don't think Billy Napier is the greatest coach out there, but I also think that people don't realize all of the vertical integration that Billy Napier had to do with the University of Florida for his first 2 years. And we started to see some success that he was having. We were pretty high on Florida going into the year. We struck out on them there. I think Matt Campbell's got a very similar task in front of him. I'm just hoping the end result is not the same for him, because I do think Matt Campbell is a pretty decent dude. I like him as a coach, but we'll see what happens.
And you know what? Before we move on to the next topic, I got to give him credit for taking on the challenge. Because you know what? He could have stayed at Iowa State and the Big 12. I mean, look, you're going to have to go against Ohio State, Michigan, USC again anyway. The Big 12 has been wide open outside now. Texas Tech really putting the money in, but the Big 12 is wide open. He could have reset and kept going back after it. He knew he was going to probably be there forever. He's the best football coach Iowa State's ever had. He could have been locked in. He didn't have to take the Penn State job. And yes, money is great, resources are great, but now you know what? My new challenge is proving myself that I can coach in the elite of the elite. The Big Ten and the SEC are the two best conferences, and they each have the top tier talent. I mean, Texas Tech's trying to make a play, but we're going to see in this playoff in Texas Tech at a high level can really challenge and compete and challenge. Because we have not seen that yet. So until we see it, it's just a bunch of money in the Big 12. And Matt Campbell going in is like, look, you're going to pay me a lot, I get it, but I get to basically rebuild Penn State football and put it in my image and then compete against the best of the best. And no one will ever doubt me. Now the funny part is, you know, he struggled in his career versus Iowa, and now he's actually going to play Iowa less in the Big Ten than he would have at Iowa State. So maybe that's why he actually went, so he could get away from them consistently. But I want to see how that game that he has and the offensive genius that he has translates into the Big Ten, because that's what they're going to need. Right now, Ohio State's offense is fantastic. Indiana's offense is fantastic. Oregon's offense is usually great. USC and Lincoln Riley offense is great. Offense is evolving in the Big Ten. It's not 3 yards in a cloud of dust anymore. Can he revitalize and infuse and inject talent, but also innovation into that Penn State offense to really get them to that next level?
Yeah, we'll see. I can't wait to see what happens with him. It'll be an interesting ride along the way. Definitely keep your eyes open in that transfer portal. And another name we didn't even talk about here, Fresh, that we got to save this for a later date. Pat Fitzgerald is back at Michigan State. Like, I think that's another home run hire.
Well, and you got to have Jonathan Smith
innocent.
Came from Oregon State, and in 2 years they really hadn't shown much growth. And I think Pat Fitzgerald being clear with kind of like, look, Michigan's good, Ohio State's good. We can't the 2-year experiment right now with Jonathan Smith is not working out. And it's just showing that he had success in the Pac-12 And even with more resources at Michigan State, he is not getting us where we need to go. Let's go with a coach who has shown that he can win in the Big Ten and he won at Northwestern. And I guarantee you, when Michigan State under Pat Fitzgerald plays Northwestern, he is going to be very pissed, and there will be blood. He will be out for blood. But I think you had to strike. And let me talk about some other programs with the money being involved in NIL. I think there was even a $400 million investment in athletics in Michigan State a couple of days ago as well. This money being thrown around, these boosters don't have time.
Hmm.
If you're at a 3-year program and these boosters are making that financial, you have to at least show progress. Because if you're not, where's my return on investment? And that becomes the next thing. Where's my ROI? Everywhere else
Hmm.
in business, in the finance world, it's return on investment, return on investment. And if I'm giving you money, I expect winning. I expect trophies. I expect my school to be elevated and the premier. And Michigan State fans, yeah, they're all known they're known for basketball, but you know what? Mike D'Antoni took Michigan State to back-to-back college football playoffs. So it can be done in East Lansing, but you have to be able to get it finished. And when Michigan had success, like Michigan State got their pressure on that entire athletic department to strike and strike big was there. Now's their opportunity. Pat Fitzgerald's a great hire, and I think he's going to do a pretty good job there in East Lansing.
All right, Fresh. One other big topic before we get to the Army Navy game. Notre Dame opting out of a bowl game. You don't like it. Like it, but I understand now a little bit why they did it. I'll get into that here. I'll let you go first and give you like your thoughts on it of them opting out of a bowl game. I don't like the precedent it sets. I disagree with that part, but I also get it. So,
You're a loser. You're gonna cry. Number one, you think that's Notre Dame and everyone watches you. You're not even top 10 in the college football program that even has audience on you. You have an NBC deal. It's not like we're drawing money away. It shows your entire team you can just quit and go home and take your ball and run. If you're developing men, and we all thought Marcus Freeman's a developer of men, that you need to be doing this. The ACC stuff is a bunch of nonsense because you know what? The ACC did what they were supposed to do for ACC football members. They promoted Miami to make the playoff. If you have any issues, maybe you need to go join the conference and not just do every other sport because you being in other sports, it has benefited you being in the ACC to get your men's basketball team a seeding spot in the NCAA tournament, or your women's team, or your soccer teams, or your lacrosse program. All these other benefits the ACC has given you. Your baseball team has even had success and been more prominent by being a member of the ACC. So you hold off. You want to be independent from football. What did you expect them to do? They were promoting their conference, the ACC. You actually lost on the field to Miami. It makes it pretty easy. Having issue with the committee screwed you because that Tuesday night before the final ranking, they still had you above Miami. And that leads to a crappy situation because if you're there and nothing changed between you or Miami, why then being flipped? The only thing that changed, we talked about it in our recap, is that I really think the committee then decided they had to have an ACC, a powerful representation of the ACC in the playoff. So with Duke beating Virginia, they had to move Miami above to at least have that conference represented in the college football playoff. There's no way, because they already know there's ACC thinks that they're inferior and they're the redhead stepchild, that if they had no representation at all and Notre Dame got in and their team had lost them on the field, it would be a problem. It sucks. But you know what happened 2 years ago? The two-time reigning defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs, who were undefeated and lost by 3 points in the SEC title game. Yes, it was a 14 playoff, who hadn't lost a game since December of 2 years before, got left out. Florida State went undefeated and had their star quarterback lost. They got knocked out of the playoff. Teams that were deserving have been knocked out. You had two losses. Yes, one by 1 point to Texas A&M, and yes, 1 by 3 points to Miami, and both of them in the playoff field. But you know what? You lost. Deal with it. The games on the field matter. You did it. Accept your bowl invite. Get the practices in for the kids you need to develop, and go after it next year and teach the guys a lesson that life isn't fair, because it's not. Spoiler alert, everybody, life isn't fair. Cutting out and quitting is not going to get you anything new. So it's a very bad precedent of, you know what, I'm just going to keep them crying. There was always going to be a debate about Notre Dame getting in. Did Alabama deserve to get in? We already had the discussion. I don't think so. Like the 3 losses, even though they played national title game, the 3 losses are tough for me to divulge and take in and receive. But not going to a bowl game and then flying to Cancun and then being the rumors that you're going to be the new Giants head coach, it just comes off as really, really, really bad. And hearing the AD crying about the ACC and reevaluating everything, the ACC commissioner did what they were supposed to do for the ACC. They politics for their football members. You are not a football member. Of course they're going to go against you because you're an independent. If you want them to defend you, Here's a thought. Go join the ACC in football. You go join the Big Ten, they will defend you, but you're independent. And everyone already is irritated by Notre Dame for multiple reasons for decades anyway, so just deal with it. You want to show your men of honor and men of respect and men of intrigue and men of dignity, playing your bowl game, accept the fate, and you know what? Have a drive to be undefeated next year. Playing Boise State, playing NC State, playing Syracuse, playing Navy, playing the teams down the stretch that don't have much merit. Look at your entire schedule. Yeah, you won 10 straight, but let's not exactly say it was a murderer's row of the Big Ten or the SEC or the Big 12. You danced around it. You had your games. Yes, you beat USC. Congratulations, but you still had 2 losses. You lost your team also in contention. They had the same record. They beat you out. Accept it and move on. It's a bad, bad look, and it just makes you become much of a laughing stock. And you know what? I originally thought Marcus Stream was a man of honor, and right now I have some serious doubts. And I'm not sure I want my son playing for him because if things go bad, he's going to quit. And what happens if you're losing in the second half or the fourth quarter in the future? You just going to quit and walk off the field? No, you keep playing the game.
I
Bad,
don't
bad look for Notre Dame. Bad, bad look.
I don't necessarily I'm laying at the feet of Marcus Freeman. I'm laying at the feet of the AD. The AD, because it's going to be the AD's final call. Now, I get
Yeah,
it.
but the
Marcus,
coach has some say. The coach has
right.
some
The
say and
coach
not want
has
to.
some say,
We're not going to do this.
but I'm not going to lay the whole thing at Marcus Freeman's feet. I would probably put it at the AD's feet on this one. I want to bring up a couple of things here that you said, Fresh, here. As you know, most of our viewers don't know this, but as you know, Fresh, I track ratings throughout the year of TV ratings on how people do, and I think it's very fascinating to see like viewership and if there's a correlation that goes along with it. Over the last couple of years, I've told you that for a long time, all the way up until about 2021, that there were 3 kings of college football. There was Alabama, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. All 3 of them pulled in massive ratings that no one else could touch. And then there was Georgia that kind of came into the group. And now I would say that there are 4 kings of college football. None of these programs pull a rating that is anywhere close to someone else. Like there's a huge gap year in and year out between those teams and everyone else, except recently. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I want to point this out to everyone. Do not believe what you see, what's posted on Twitter on On3 or any of those guys who put out there, because they use averages and not total viewership over the course of the year. The reason they use averages is because like a team like Tennessee, which gets popped up in the ratings, doesn't play as many nationally broadcast games as a team like Georgia or Ohio State or Alabama or even Texas, because those teams are on TV week in, week out, and they pull a bigger rating long term than a team that plays about 4 games less and pops a rating here and there. So the averages are usually pretty misleading. The interesting thing is that TV ratings, the one thing that they don't include is Peacock. And the minute Notre Dame put their product on Peacock, their rating number dropped. And the interesting thing is, Peacock does not release their viewership number, but they have over 70 million they have a 70 million subscribers to the Peacock channel. Now, again, some people subscribe to Peacock and still will watch things on traditional TV. I get that as well. But Notre Dame still this year, without any of their Peacock viewers, and they're only on national TV 8 times out of their 11-game season, they still rank 10th in overall viewership this season. They were 10th in overall, and that's total
Well, they got
viewers.
a major help from the Miami game, the A&M game, and the USC game. Those 3 really gave them big
And
boosts.
then
And the Pitt game.
The Pitt game. And so the thing that's intriguing with Notre Dame that you'll look at is that they routinely pop over an average of a 3 rating no matter who they're playing. They'll pull 3 million viewers against Syracuse in a game. It's an interesting thing to see them and how they'll react to it. Now, again, are they in the same breath as the top 3 teams that I'm mentioning? No. But are they more consistent than some of the other ones? Yes, they are. I think Notre Dame looked at this whole scenario, and we talked about this during our recap episode, Fresh, was with Notre Dame said, I'm mad at the committee, and I think that ESPN got involved and talked about matchup and talked about money and talked about ratings and put in Miami and Alabama over us when we both said that Alabama shouldn't have got in, that the Florida State loss was an albatross. But even with that, Notre Dame is saying, you know what? Fine. Don't put me in the playoff. You don't get a benefit off my name. You don't get me to play BYU on a random Saturday or Thursday or Wednesday or Tuesday, whenever they put the bowl game they were going to play in. You don't get my name to pop a rating for your network. If you're going to do this and make money for you, and I get it, it's a loser's mentality on
You
that
lost
part.
15 practices to develop your team. You
I
lost an
get it.
opportunity for your fans to travel.
I said, I don't necessarily agree with it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I do. There's a part of it that I understand it. I understand them saying, screw you, I'm not going to make you any money. And I get that part, I get. Now, do I agree with it? No, I don't agree with it. I think you should play in a bowl game regardless of it. Don't take your ball and go home. But at the same time, too, if you really feel like this whole thing was fixed or corrupt or fraud or what have you,
Well, I'm talking about corrupt. Going
okay,
forward, starting next year, they're guaranteed a spot in the playoff if they finish top 12. So don't tell me you haven't flexed your power and tried to negotiate.
don't agree with that necessarily either. And again, I disagree on multiple pieces, but I get what one piece of leverage did they have? What one piece of leverage do they have? They have their name and their ability for people to make money off of it.
Well, they were going to get money in the TV revenue for the bowl game anyway, and they're going to get extra practice to develop their football team because that's the whole point.
Now,
They're to play
I don't.
football.
I think they still get the extra practices, don't they?
No, you don't go to the bowl, you don't get practices.
Well,
You waived at 15.
yeah,
They aren't touching the field till April or May.
yeah. I don't. Like I said, Fresh. I don't agree with it. I just get it. I get why you do it. Don't agree with it.
Well, they better show up and go in. Well, they're going to go undefeated next year. That's scheduled a dumpster fire, so they have no
I haven't even
excuse.
looked at it yet. All right, Fresh. Well, let's go to actual games that will be played this weekend. Army Navy. It's the annual game. It's the tradition. It's the uniform. This one's going to be played in Baltimore, Maryland. At time of record, the Navy midshipmen are 6.5 favorite. Over under is set at 38.5 here. Folks, it's at 3:30, and the game should be over by 6 if everything goes according to plan there. This is the great tradition. Fresh, it's one of our favorite games to preview, so I'll give you the honor, sir.
This game's not really about the players, obviously, that are on the field and the names on the back. It's about the names on the front. It's not just about the cadets and the midshipmen. It's about every serviceman and woman who is in the Navy and the Army, not just stationed domestically, but also abroad. It's kind of where there's a lot of fans. Everyone hears that chatter. They aren't alums of that school. How can they be a fan? Well, there are members of the Army who cheer for Army because it's Army, and they are part of it. They're in that family. They didn't have to go to West Point to understand that camaraderie and that demand of respect and that pride. Same thing for men and women in the Navy who none of them majority of them didn't go to the academy in Annapolis, and yet they are all Navy all the way. This is a pride. This is layers of servicemen and women from generations before who have gone through and fought this thing out. Many historic battles, Heisman Trophy winners, great classic games. It's not four receivers and throwing it 50, 60 times. There's no Pat Mahomes, Baker Mayfield tools. Is grinded out physical football, respect across the board, tenacious. They basically run very, very similar offense. So they've expanded out there a little more. It's not just your traditional triple option anymore. There's a little more of a passing game on both sides as they modernize, but you still stick to who you are. Jeff Monken has done a fantastic job at Army getting them back up. And obviously, we thought the Navy was going to be, they were heading down with Ken Niumatalolo toward the end of his reign there in Annapolis, where it kind of looked a little bit rough. And then he got fired, and his assistant got promoted. And we were like, what the heck has happened? And then before we know it, he's got them back, and they are playing at a high level and led by Blake Corbass at quarterback. It's just, you recruit a different type of man. You get guys in there who want to work hard. My brother's in the Army. I have some of my best friends are in the Navy or have been in the Navy. It's one thing a year where they obviously have their big college football programs they cheer for. But when it comes to Army Navy, it is the end of the line. It's Army versus Navy, Navy versus Army, and pride of generations rains down. The names on the back of the jersey, the guys change every single year, but where they're going to be serving, whether it's artillery, whether it's going to be a submarine, Marine Corps, pilot, whatever it might be, they're going on to a bigger and much greater glory than playing in the NFL. Now, obviously, we've seen obviously the safety last year from Navy plays for the Jaguars now from Lane, and there's been guys who've gone from the academy to the NFL, but the majority of them are going on to a career to defend this nation. It's something where, the men on the field are willing to die for everyone watching is kind of that thing everyone says. It truly is, it hits home. But the flyovers, the messages on TV, and messages from, different units stationed across the globe, it is the most amazing respect. The prisoner exchange, if the president does attend, because in years past, presidents attend, they go from one side to the other. I don't know if Trump will be there this year, but then when a president's in attendance, they spend half of it on one side of the field and half on the other. It's just the pageantry about it. America's best, I think is the best way to put it, on the field. And I'm excited. It's going to be another fun game. Last year, coming into the ball game, Army had played for an American championship. They beat Tulane to win the American championship. They had an extra game leading up to that Army-Navy game. Kind of wore them out. I feel like you could see them a little sluggish, even though they were the better football team and they were ranked in the top 25 all year. And Blake Horvath and Navy got them. This year, both teams are coming in bowl eligible, but neither of them played last week. They get the full 2-week break. I want to see how Army, being a little more refreshed, coming as the underdog, learning the lesson from last year to really attack this Navy football team, because they have shown they can win. They have gone out there and competed. They beat Memphis and they beat it. They played really hard in the American. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a close ball game. I think Army's going to give a whole heck of a lot of fight. I can't say it. Army's going to win. They're going to fend off Navy late, pull off the big time upset, and they're going to sing second. But like it always is, cherish every second of it. It's a different kind of football game. It is a game that has you connected in there. The pride of a nation is literally on the line and on your TV and in person. The flyovers, the march-ons before the game, every piece of it is well worth watching, and it's always a bucket list to attend. And at some point in my life, I will do it. Special Saturday coming from Baltimore. And, I can't say that other team is going to win. So go Army, beat Navy.
Fresh, I love this football game. I love the uniforms. I love the tradition. I love the pageantry. And I especially love because while your family was in there, my grandfather was in the Navy. He was originally supposed to be stationed at Pearl Harbor. He actually was sent over to Pearl Harbor to do the cleanup after December 7th. And where I grew up, my fight song was Anchors Away, where we grew up in a little town in Ohio. And on the shores of Lake Erie, the greatest naval battle
Love the
ever
story
fought
area.
is the Battle of Lake Erie. I raised the toast here as my friend and great confidant Ryan Agnew would talk about. Here's to Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry, the great sea captain, the man who said, "We have found the enemy and they are ours." And every year it comes out still fresh and it's still here. You don't give up the ship. It still will fly high. Blake Horvath is the greatest Army quarterback we have seen since Roger Staubach. He is the straw that stirs the drink. He is the master of disaster. He is going to arm the torpedoes. He is going to get down in the submarine, find the periscope, locate Army, and boom, there go the torpedoes towards them. Navy covering this one here as well. Go Navy, beat Army. I have no ties to either one. It's like my grandfather, who's been long gone for quite a while there. But again, I grew up in an area that had a very rich Marine Navy history. So I always found it very fascinating, especially the Battle of Lake Erie.
It's one of those special games out there. Everyone has a connection one way or another, whether it's a relative, whether they're in it themselves, a grandfather, a grandmother, and somebody has served and been in attendance. And it's the players on the field are also representing their classmates in the stands, as well as all the active duty and veterans across the entire country that are watching. Here in Jacksonville, it's a very strong Navy town, actually with, Mayport and NAS Jacks. And then you have Blunt Island for the Marine Corps, station up here as well. Very, very heavy, but there's also retirees from the Air Force and the Army. Very, military friendly, veteran friendly area. And you go to bars here, and guys will show up. Island Grill Cigar Bar, one thing that rings to my mind here in Jacksonville, where you walk in on Army Navy Day, and there are just guys, veterans, all sitting down in the chairs, smoking stogies, and watching the game together with their buddies, whether they're shitmates, whether they're just veterans, regardless of unit and prior connection. It means something. the national anthem, the whole thing, just the pageantry and patriotism that comes through is pretty spectacular. If you have a chance, I know the game starts at 3 o'clock on CBS. The pregame show starts at like 2:30, but on CBS Sports Network, so CBS SN on your local dial. I think even starting like 10 a.m. in the morning, 11 a.m. in the morning. The pageantry starts, the pregame starts, the walk on. You can watch all the different brigades. It's something really cool. If you have it, if you're a college football fan, make it a bucket list item. I know tickets are very tough every year, but make it a bucket list item to go to. It is something very, very special. If up north it's supposed to be really cold this weekend and you're tucked away, not running, wrapping Christmas presents or just want to get out of the cold, sit down and watch the game. Enjoy the full 60 minutes of it. Enjoy every single second. Football is special, but for these guys, for a lot of them, this might be that last moment of fun before real life hits. And they make that transition from playing football to serving our nation full time. And you see the emotion on their faces when that game is over, regardless of what uniform they're wearing, they both, especially the seniors, know that they leave on the field because this is that last moment of fun before real life commitment begins to our nation and themselves and each other.
Yeah. It's so impressive what these guys get to do. And they get to play a game of football, and it's entertaining, and we love it, and we love everything that goes into it. And then the fact is that most of these guys are off to a career in the military where they are going to defend freedom. They are going to defend our country and people who will never be able to say thank you enough. So it's just such an impressive day. And it's a good way to remember the military members we have in our family and those who are serving, those who are retired for serving, and those who are no longer with us that have served in the military. It's a good day to remember them and let it bring a smile to your face because it is a game, it is football, and there are bigger things in life than football, but it's a fun time. And if you're listening to this and you had family that was in the military, please, by all means, leave their name down in the comment, whether they're still with us, whether they're gone but not forgotten. Please leave their name and what branch of the military that they have served in down so we can at least, give them a like, give them a shout out at the end of this or whatever we can figure out what we do just to honor the people that have been in the U.S. military as we recognize one of the marquee rivalries in college football, one of the great rivalries in college football, and one of the most entertaining games to watch.
Agreed. Keep their names alive, keep their legacy alive, and let's get ready for some fun football on Saturday afternoon from Baltimore.
All right, Fresh. In a week from now, we'll have a whole new set of issues to talk about in the college football world. So, ladies and gentlemen, before you head out of here, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get notified every single time we drop a new episode. Fresh and I will be covering all of bowl season, the good ones, the bad ones, the crazy mascot ones. We'll discuss Pop-Tarts. We'll discuss Duke Mayo. I don't really like Duke's Mayo, but that's a different story for a different time. I'll tell you what my criticism, what makes good mayonnaise versus bad mayonnaise. I get it. But you got to hit the subscribe button to get all this phenomenal content we got coming your way. A lot of great stuff. We're going to talk about the college football playoff. We're going to break down each and every game. So make sure you subscribe. Hey, keep checking out the shorts that we got going on, the little clips. If you don't want to watch the full episode, make sure you engage with us. Leave us the comments. Let us know what you think. We'll interact with you. We'll engage with you. Special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this is possible. Make sure you're checking out spinablesports.com. Interact with us on social media. Fresh, that's all I got. It's a great day. Anchors away, my friend. Anchors away. Here's to our U.S. military.
Everybody, hit us at spinablesports.com, Spinable Sports YouTube channel. Follow both of us on Twitter, especially the Wrestling Confidence Podcast, our Confidence Pod. And in addition to the college ball playoff coming up, we're in MLB winter meetings right now, and so that that's sort of recapping who's on the move. So if you want to get some baseball knowledge, hit the at Power LA podcast. Also through Spinable Sports YouTube channel. So spread the word, engage us there. If you're looking for that on Twitter, it's at Power LA Pod. And we'll come to you next time with our college football playoff first round preview episode. Can Alabama beat Oklahoma? Can JMU or Tulane pull off an upset? We'll find out. But to get prepared, you have to follow us and subscribe and hit us up to the next episode. And until the next time, go Army, beat Navy. Talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.